This is Stephen Kotler, and you're listening to Your Superior Self.
This is Christina Rasmussen, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Dave Meltzer, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, I'm Anita Murjani, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome back. I'm Trey Downs, and this is Your Superior Self. Thank you guys for taking the time to download and hang out with me today. Much love. Thank you guys so much. I'm excited. I have Carole Serene Borgens joining the show. She's a channeler, an author, a fantastic person, a person who loves putting out positivity and great energy out to the world and helping others become more aware and attuned to their higher selves. I think it's her work is so fantastic. She channels from this place of, I guess you have to get into your mind, into this different altered state of consciousness. And she channels an entity called Pax, and she's had multiple books published from his channeling. If you go back, I don't know what episode it is, but Penelope Jean Hayes and Carole Serene Borgens are guests on the show, and they talk about their work together. Penelope is more the investigative reporter and kind of asks Pax questions about the universe, our state here and on Earth, environmental issues, COVID issues, just UFO issues. It's not issues. I guess it wouldn't be an issue, but because of the government and how shysty they are with information. She goes into detail more about UFOs and those other beings out there in the universe. Fantastic stuff. I love reading things like that. But Carole she's such a sweet lady, and she has helped me along my path in growth with some of the readings and writings that she's emailed me. I've learned, well, it's crazy, right? Like, so you think about this, right? And you think about past lives and how it pertains to your life now. And you really don't think about it. You just have your things that make you kind of trigger, and you have your, you have these emotions, or you have these parts of you that you can't really figure out why that you do the things that you do. And I asked her to channel Pax and give me some information about a past life that pertains to my life now. And she talks about this entity called Orpheus, who I was in a previous life, and his death, his demise, and how that came to be. And we talk about that in this episode a little bit. I think we talk about it quite a bit, but it helped me. It felt right to me. I resonated with it because I could see my tendencies from that life in this life now. Like where I struggle with, I would say, I struggle with taking orders very much. Like, I don't know why, I don't understand it, but when someone tells me to do something, I automatically buck it. Like, I automatically just start getting this feeling in my system of like, I don't know, like, don't tell me to do that. Like, just, I'd rather you ask me. And it might be, like, it could be, everyone would argue that that's what every human being has, that they don't like being told what to do. But it's like I just have something up with the chain of command. Like, it's something that just has always bothered me. I've had a problem with authority my entire life. I would never, disobey, but it's something, it would shake me to my core, and I never really understood why. And I would say that Carole's writing about my past life, has opened my eyes to a lot of the ways that I handle things in those terms, and it helps me kind of take a step back and look at it as a whole and at like a meta awareness kind of thing, and just like, all right, well, you know what, this is probably something, and I do this. Well, let me finish this thought. So it allows me to step back and look at it at a meta awareness type of visual, and I can kind of step back and say, all right, well, this is probably something that I have to deal with right? Like kind of catch it in the moment and be like, all right, step back, see it as for what it is. All right, you're probably feeling these reasons for whatever type of uncomfortableness with authority. And then I can step back and kind of, look at it from that angle. But you can do this in every aspect of your life where you feel like you have a disconnect or you have a resistance. You can kind of step back and be like, all right, well, what am I not dealing with? It doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to look at it as a past life, but past life regressions, the past life therapies, the age regression modalities are really inspiring as far as the individual growing in areas that have always been their weaknesses. I just think it's something that you guys should research at least, or ask the question, what is it? And there's so many different books about that. Look at Ian Stevenson from University of Virginia. He's done a lot of great work with children's past lives. Same thing with Carole Bowman. I mean, it's a lot of literature out there that is really supportive for this modality. Check it out. And just to give you an idea of what's to come on the episode, here's a clip of Carole channeling Pax.
We ask that you take the opportunity to ask your audience how they move ahead each day while maintaining peace of mind and optimism. This is an interesting question, yes? There is much for your people to be thankful for, and we remind that this is the case. Your world continues to turn on her axis, although she will more swiftly tilt in the next while than she has in history, and this will bring fear. You must allow that this is a symptom of the mistake made and still being made in the management of your planet. This will not cause environmental chaos, but it will cause increased awareness of the cause and effect principle.
Good old causal and effect. Gotta love it. I hope this brings more awareness. I hope this brings more... How do I say this? I hope this allows other people to be interested in the subject or interested in their own consciousness, that they start investigating what it is that we are, and start firing up those questions about what it is we're here to do, why we're here, what are we, and allow people to feel comfortable enough to step out of whatever dogma umbrella that they're under, and realize that no one's going to strike them with lightning if you ask certain questions, or if you have a curiosity that doesn't fit into those binding religious beliefs or societal pressures. I mean, just feel free to have fun with it. And I really truly want to make that point, is that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to be curious about subjects that make others uncomfortable. A lot of people look at me as far as like some of the interviews that I have about consciousness that aren't typically traditional or conventional. It's with, like channeling. Like I love it because I feel like we are connecting with something higher than ourselves, which we are. And I feel like we are channeling, receiving information that is just totally something that we can't Google, and something that we can't peer review. And it's just, it is what it is. It is something of a higher source, higher information. I mean, how can it not be? Just the type of information that we're receiving is just so precise to what the listener needs to hear at the right moment, or what the population of mankind needs to hear at the particular moment. I love it. I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm really, really excited that you guys get to hear Carole. You get to hear her work. You get to hear Pax's translations of his wisdom, and you get to become curious about channeling. I think it's awesome. Before we get into it, though, I want to mention my sacred activism, which is something that is very sacred to my heart. It is something that I'm trying to bring more awareness to, and it's abandoned children. Go to abandonedchildrensfund.org, find out more information about this nonprofit. It goes out into the world, into these underdeveloped countries, and it helps out children who have been abandoned by their family members because of their own reasons, whether it be war-torn communities, or famine, or no clean water, or whatever their situation is. This community of people bring these children into their organizations. They bring them into their orphanages. They give them clothing. They give them food. They give them education. They give them love overall. And they help them, nurse them back to where they should be, or not even where they should be. Just they bring them back to a level of wholeness, of showing them how worthy they are of love and all the things that we have to offer them. That's why I love this organization. That's why I'm bringing more awareness to it. If you can just donate some time or money, I don't care. Like, just get this out. And when I say time, it doesn't need to be that you need to go get on a plane right now. It'd be nice to go and help these communities, but just spread awareness. Like that time, like go on social media, post a couple posts about it, and let people become more aware about these problems that we face as a community of mankind, not just, in this country, but outside of, the whole, the planet. We can help each other do it. We can help each other by bringing more awareness to things like this. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm very, very happy to have Carole on the show. She is such an amazing human being, and she's such a great channeler, and her work is amazing. I mean, it's so fun. I mean, she's been channeling this entity Pax for over 20 years, and I mean, that says something. She has a lot of published works, and a lot of content that backs up a lot of her gifts, and that's something to be said. So without further ado, here is my conversation with the great and the powerful and the loving Carole Borgens.
Hello, this is Carole Serene Borgens, and I'm very pleased to be on Your Superior Self with Trey Downs.
Carole, coming back for a second time. I had to get some more. Thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure. Really it is. I'm glad to see you again.
Yeah. Carole, for those who do not know, is the channeler of the entity called Pax. Touched on a little bit of how you were able to identify this gift, and how you built your relationships with Pax. But for those who are now just listening to you for the first time, can you just really quick, or want to dive into that? Like, how did you find this power of being able to channel Pax, and what did that look like?
When I was introduced to Pax, it was in the mid-1990s, and I was already channeling spirit, offering past life regression and private readings for clients, which I still do today as an intuitive medium and channel. Pax came through one evening in automatic writing, introduced himself, and asked if I would consider becoming his channel, as he and the collective consciousness that he represents wished to share guidance with our Earth people. They saw our world as out of balance and asked to speak. I recognized this as quite a responsibility and asked for time to consider it, which I did. I took a week or two and then I agreed. And I have been writing with Pax ever since. And it's brought me till the present day, where we have a number of books published, including Do Unto Earth, It's Not Too Late, which we'll be speaking a little about tonight.
I love Do Unto Earth. It's so cool. And your episode with Penelope will go live Monday, and I talked a lot about it there. But the one thing I do enjoy is channeling, because it is something that I think is very unique, right? Like, not everybody can do it. Well, I think everybody might not be able to, but who knows? But I feel like I can at some point, right? Like, channel my higher self.
Of course you can. And once a long time ago, I was thinking about this very question, and I said, Pax, I cannot be the only person on this planet channeling you, can I? He said, my wisdom is there for the enlightened. Anyone can access it.
How do you get to that? How do you get to that enlightenment, though?
I think it's a constant, it's a process. We just continue. And I think that the enlightenment that Pax referred to is not the kind that We think of, if we're considering the yogi who's levitating, it's really, I think, our purity of heart. I think it's our purity of intention, and our willingness to open to the potential of channeling our higher selves and whatever for the greater good of all comes through us. And it is recognizing that we are an instrument, and to receive channeling is a blessing. And again, I go back to the information that comes through us for the highest and best good of all. And in intending this and becoming a pure channel, I think that is sufficient enlightenment for
Sure.
us to begin. It's a knowingness.
Yeah, I mean, it is intention. Has a lot to do with the intention. What is your intention with this awareness? Mine is to help the collective conscious. Like, I truly want to help the collective consciousness of man. I think we need a change. If you read your book, you'll understand why. There's a lot of things that we're doing to Mother Earth. There are a lot of things that we're doing to nature. The collective consciousness of man is suffering. There's a lot of pain and suffering. A lot. It's so interesting. The studies that have been done on psychedelics and alternate therapies, where they alter states of consciousness through these methods, and a lot of them experience a lot of the similarities with this ocean of suffering that we have created. Mankind has created this, and I think that your work, I think that this book is going to help change or awaken a lot of people, so that we can start putting positivity out there for the collective consciousness.
And as you say, the awakening is an awareness, isn't it? Once we have an awareness, then we can begin to fully awaken and begin to make change, make a difference. Mm-hmm. Understand that we are capable of being the change that we need to see. Sure. Not just what we've done to this planet, but mankind, as you say, it's what we've done to each other and continue to do to each other. Pax talked a little bit about that this afternoon when I was channeling for a message for you. It talks about what we do to each other, and it's just a part of the big picture of the trouble we're in.
Sure. So when you channel him, he's very, like, he gives a lot of detail in his, I guess, message. Do you ever cross-reference that at all, just to check accuracy? Like, do you say,
No.
No.
Total trust, Trey.
That's awesome.
No, I don't.
Did Penelope at all? Did she ever cross-reference or anything like?
Oh, I believe she did. Yes. Yeah. And that was her role. I don't, because that, I have a rule about not testing spirit. If I do not have sufficient trust, then I shouldn't be doing this.
Sure.
But of course, we go back 25 years, Trey. I've been channeling this Pax entity. So there's been a lot of time for me to watch as things Pax brings forward come to fruition, come true, if you will, over time, over years.
So over that 25 years, you've seen his stuff come true.
Oh, absolutely. Even just in the books called The Likely Future, the 2 small books
I have those,
that we channeled just about a year ago now, there's information in there on what to do about COVID. Now, I mean, it begins with where COVID began, how that happened, and all the way through to information that really needs to get to people of science, of medicine.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk to you about, because it freaks me out a little bit that when you get it.
Yeah, the information, the guidance that was in there about how this is going to roll out is stuff that I was seeing on the news broadcasts months ago. And I would sit and listen to that and think, oh, well, I know that, it's in the book, but people are just learning about it. So I have watched this over the years, And, the answer to your question is, I suppose that is my way of not checking, but being reinforced that in fact, what is told to us is valid, it's viable information, it's truth. And also, Pax has a habit. You mentioned he gives us a lot of detail. He does indeed when he feels we are ready for it, because if he feels we are not ready for it, he will say, you are not ready for this. And that shows up in Do Unto Earth a few times. We're talking about fission and fusion and fuels for off-planet travel and techniques and technologies. And he gives us a lot, but he also gives us, you're not ready for more. Your purposes for attaching yourself to other planets is, we feel, not the right reasons at this point to monetize, to just plant a flag, to just claim for your own without thinking about, are you going to destroy that planet like you've destroyed Mother Earth? So he's cautious about what we get. And I know not to ask again for a while.
Wow, that is just so amazing. So why don't you go ahead and read what he's channeled for us tonight? I'm interested in that.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you. I'm happy to. He said that we have much to say about the state of your world today. While we do not wish to shake fingers, we do wish to point out the reality of your crises. Yes, multiples. There is health and environmental, racial and economic. Is there anything that is stable and good for you now? We ask that you take the opportunity to ask your audience how they move ahead each day while maintaining peace of mind and optimism. This is an interesting question, yes? There is much for your people to be thankful for, and we remind that this is the case. Your world continues to turn on her axis, although she will more swiftly tilt in the next while than she has in history, and this will bring fear. You must allow that this is a symptom of the mistake made and still being made in the management of your planet. This will not cause environmental chaos, but it will cause increased awareness of the cause and effect principle. For your people to take this awareness and apply it to your daily living and wastefulness, this is what will help, will elevate awareness and potentially allow for an increase in caution about planetary repair. This will be good. Your First Nations people, their elders as well as their youth, continue to share wisdom on the topics of earth management and human relations. They got it right the first time. You are still getting it wrong in the past century, and it's time to reverse thinking and take a lesson from your first peoples. We share with you the love from our collective consciousness to advise that you do not walk this path alone. We are here and we support your efforts and actions to change the trajectory of human interaction with the planet and all her creatures. Mother Earth asks for care and kindness. That is all. How hard is it to stop drilling, pollution, deforestation, and taking more than is needed? This is not the best way. Think of this and go in peace and love, Pax.
Pretty powerful stuff there.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating because I know that there is going to be a major change in our environment, major change on this planet that is going to be, it's a direct result from how we treat her. a direct result of the way that we treat each other. And there's going to be a major shift. It's frustrating that we can't all become more aware of how similar we are, how we're connected, how we are from the same source. And I mean, when you hit somebody else, you're hitting yourself. When you cuss somebody else, you're cussing yourself. When you steal food from somebody else, you're stealing from yourself. Like, that reality that we are all connected is the truth. That is the message here. That is, we are all interwoven in the quilt of life. And it's just so frustrating because we're going to have, it's not until you get slapped in the face by God until you realize that you are affecting everything in your environment. And it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, it's very true. One of my favorite authors is the late Richard Wagamese. He's a Northwest Coast Indian First Nations man who's very philosophical writings. And one of his books is called All One Drum. He says, we are all one drum, one heartbeat, one drum beat. And I think of that so often, and it's exactly what you're saying. We are all one heartbeat. We hurt one, we hurt everyone. And what we've done to the planet, Pax has said it's not irreplaceable, the good health of the planet, but boy, we have to work hard and we have to work quickly at that.
That's the thing, though, is just being able to fix what we've done, with the drilling, with the, the oil spills in the Gulf, like everything, the earthquakes that are happening. There's signs everywhere. There's signs everywhere. I mean, you look at the civil unrest that's going on in society. You see all the hate. You see I can, like, I have to stop, like, even with social media, like, I have to distance myself. Like,
yes,
I try to raise my vibration through the things that I do. And I know that I am one man. I know that the energy that I put out can be very powerful, and I try to do positive things in my life, in my day, to contribute to the consciousness of man, but just by going for a run. That is positivity. That's me being the best version of myself. I know that I'm doing something good for, the end result is me being a better person. So that contributes to the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just frustrating when I see things, it's just, I know I can't control people, but it's like, what can I do? I can put a podcast out with Carole, and we can talk about Pax's message about, what we're doing to the collective consciousness, what we're doing collectively to to Mother Earth. Like, what are we doing? And it's time to awaken. It's time to,
It is. Yeah.
I'm not, and like you said, not awaken like from a sleep, but like become more aware about what we truly are. Stop being so afraid of asking questions. Stop being afraid to question what you've been told your entire life.
Absolutely. And on that theme is one of the favorites of Pax, and that is taking back our power, each of us, self-empowerment. It is a constant theme with Pax for years. And only in so doing can we, as individuals, rise up, join with other like-minded individuals, and, as you say, ask questions of who? Our corporate leaders who lead by greed, by the government leaders, again, who are essentially in bed with the corporations who ensure that the laws are favorable so they can continue clear cutting the forests and fracking and taking fossil fuels out of the ground that just weakens our poor planet. This is, I think, if people are sitting at home thinking, how do I make a difference? It's about empowering each of us, empowering ourselves, recognizing that violence is not a requirement. It is simply raising ourselves intellectually and strengthening our resolve to ask the important questions and to be heard. When we talk about what is happening that is so destructive. Everything from racism running rampant to what we're doing to the planet, which is an ongoing discussion. It is just wicked what's happening in the world right now. And it's no wonder that we have such a mental health crisis as well. People who are sensitive to energy and sensitive in all ways don't deal well with all of this going on. We owe it to each other to do our best to have our voices heard. And, you know, Trey, your podcast is just one of the bright lights in this world of ours now, that the guests you have can speak their truths and be heard.
Yeah, well, thank you, Carole.
Thank you.
You said something really, or you asked the important question, like the listener listening now, like, what is it that I can do? What is it that one thing that I can do that make a difference? Like, who am I? It takes one act, one simple act of love, just one, whether it's giving $1 to the homeless guy on the corner, or picking a kid up and just giving a hug if it just fell down, or just being kind to your neighbor, or doing whatever. That is just one act that you can contribute to the collective consciousness of man that is going to make it is going to make a difference. And if we continue to do that, it's so, like, the way that, I say collective consciousness, right? I have this thought. So the more that I research history, psychology, you see in the timeline of events of things that are happening in a linear fashion, in a linear timeline. But you go from, caveman to hunters and gatherers, and there's a jump. That's collective consciousness. I feel like it is, the more that you evolve as a person, the more that you become more aware, your consciousness rises, and you're able to access higher levels of data. Like me, when you learn things, when you put in repetitions, your brain changes physiologically, and it can access, in my opinion, higher levels of consciousness. You allow and then receive different types of data, and you see it over history. I explain this by look from where we had nothing. We had the cavemen, the Neanderthals, and then we had hunters and gatherers. And then if you look at the jumps in between there, from the industrial revolution, or agricultural revolution, industrial, technological, they're all small gaps, because it's like these big aha moments. And it's like man is becoming more aware and accessing new information, more information, and we're able to change our world. We're able to change our being. And I think that's going to happen now. I think people are starting to access different levels of awareness, and they're starting to receive information, different bits of data that will allow them to have different ideas, different thought processes about where we need to go as a race. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm wondering if I know you're feeling it, but I'm wondering if you're speaking to many people who are feeling like a shift has begun, a shift in the energy. You talked about a potential great shift in our planet Earth wellness. I feel that the shift has begun towards more awareness, that more people are positioning themselves while they, I think, are learning and assessing. They're positioning themselves to make a difference, to be the ones to step up and speak their truth to power. That feels like that to me. Does it to you?
It does. There's still a lot of fear out there. There's still a lot of, I guess, conditioned programming, whatever you want to say. And it's hard to break that.
It is.
And it's because I was fearful of that. I was scared to ask questions, because I was like, oh, if I question God, then he's going to send me to hell. I have to be perfect.
I went to the same church.
Exactly, though, right?
As a child.
it's like you can't ask these questions, and it scares you. And it's like, it's okay to ask a question. I was just thinking about this, playing out this conversation in my head. If I ever had this conversation with someone, I would be like, hey, do you ever question that? No. Why? Because, my parents told me this is what it is. My pastor told me this is what it is. So you can't question that.
Yeah. No, you can't. No.
It's but what type of God would love you so much that he would give the world his only begotten son and have him crucified and raised from the dead and not punish us for that, but yet he's going to punish you for asking a question. Like,
well, it didn't make sense to me then, and it still doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay to ask a question, and I think and I asked that question. I asked, I was a little kid asking questions. I was like, hey, mom and dad, who created God? And they couldn't answer. And no one can answer that really, right? But these are the questions that I was listening, thinking about back then. And I just told not to think about it. So, okay.
Well, our parents were indoctrinated into that. You don't question. You just believe. You don't question. I preferred to think, and I believe I did, even as a young child, sitting in that church, wondering what I was hearing, because it didn't make sense. And I preferred to think that it's a loving God, and it's not a punishing God, and it's not a God and an entire religion that believes we're born bad, we're born sinners, and we have to spend our life trying to repent for all of this. I prefer to think that we are in a loving environment, and our creators are only wanting for us to remain in a loving world and continue to share that love. Love is another of the themes for Pax. Love is the bottom line. Love is everything in the Pax writings. He truly, I think he quotes John Lennon sometimes, actually, talks about imagine and living in love. But it's true. That's where we want to be.
Well, I heard stories that John Lennon was a very aware individual, like he, I talked to, I read a couple of books with, I think it was somebody who channeled, like they would channel, I think they channeled Jesus. I think they actually channeled John Lennon. And he was like one of those higher awareness beings. It's pretty
he truly was. Now, I look back on it in his later years, and he tried to teach us love. Gosh, yeah. And it didn't end well for him.
Mm-mm.
I think that is, if we practice love, and if we show love in our everyday life to our families, our co-workers, and take it all the way through to show love to our Mother Earth, then we don't have the warring. If we show love to each other, we can't have racial strife. We just can't.
Sure.
We can't have people shooting each other. I mean, it's a pretty tall order to think about. That's an idyllic situation, but you know what? It's doable.
Yeah.
It's
all
doable.
Think love is weakness. They think love is weakness. Oh, I should go forgive this person because I should love them. And it's like, you're not forgiving them because the ego is telling you that you're right and they're wrong. Take away that ego. Take away the ego and the thoughts that are accompanied by that. And then who's right and who's wrong? Who is who? Who are you? The ego thinks you're this I, this small self, this small person, this small being that is here right now. But that's not who you are. You're so much bigger. You're the big S, the superior self. You're not even like 99% of what you are, you're not even conscious of. It's just,
if each of us could find our superior self, we wouldn't behave this way, would we?
No, because if you take a step back, like we were talking about earlier, I take a step back and I have that meta awareness of everyone, then I can see that we're all just here playing out a drama. We're all just here thinking that I'm Trey and you're Carole, and that we're doing this podcast right here because we're locked in and loaded. We're we're invested in our messages. But if you ultimately take a step back and have this meta awareness about what is going on currently in this moment, we're two beings that are in this incarnation working together.
Yeah.
And
For the
essentially
greater good.
For the greater good.
Yeah. That's something that I don't believe that's on the radar of the average person in their workaday world, trying to get through life, trying to pay the bills and raise their children. I just don't think there's time. It's a part of our societal problem. There isn't time for people to slow down and go within and think about the greater good. It's, there's two working parents in a family and all that entails with children. Where is their time, other than if meditation becomes a part of the routine, or just walk in the forest in contemplation. But I think it's not an overwhelming task, but it seems like it sometimes, to bring this kind of reality and awareness to people in their daily lives.
Yeah. It takes a lot though, right? Like, one single person, I don't know, maybe if it is like a Jesus type figure or a Buddha, like somebody of that consciousness level, that power, like that could probably, because obviously that power would be so powerful that it would be like 10x someone else's power, that they could be so much powerful that they could awaken this masses of people and say, look, this is not what I've taught you. I didn't want a religion based off of me. I wanted to make you guys realize that you are of me. You are the same as me. We are of the Father. We are the one God. You are just as powerful as me. And his message, just from, I don't want to get into that, but it's just like, I don't think that is his message. I don't think that, I think his message is of love. I think it is of love. I think it is trying to show us how we love one another. And I think that whatever you want, whatever conspiracy theory you want to believe, I just think that it was not portrayed the way it should have been.
Agreed.
But that's why I have people on here like you that think outside the box and have these powers and abilities to help others awaken and help others think outside the box as well, and present the material that Pax has to give you some insight of how powerful we can be. And you're so the way that you channel Pax is, you write it out, right?
It's automatic. Yeah, it's automatic writing. When I first met Pax, I had big sheets of paper turned sideways and a pen, and I was channeling. And when Pax introduced himself to me, his writing was large and flowing, and I really needed the big paper. I've always done that until just a couple of years ago, when I had need to begin to do personal sessions for people who lived around the world. So they couldn't come and sit with me, and I didn't want to have to take the great time in the writing. And I thought to myself one day, I wonder if I could just channel directly onto my computer, onto the keyboard. Pax said, well, of course you can. Oh, okay, now you tell me. So I do, in fact, do that. And that enabled the production of the Do Unto Earth book and the Likely Future books in the short time frame that they were produced, because I just type right on to the keyboard, which is brilliant. And I'm just now beginning to want to be able to voice channel. There's a place for that, and just to be able to hear the Pax thoughts and speak them will be helpful. When I am channeling by writing or by typing, I don't have my conscious mind engaged. So the information comes in and it comes out my typing fingers. And I actually have to read what I've produced because I have no memory because I didn't catch it going in. So it's very
What's the
interesting.
process for the verbal channeling? How does that look like? I mean, what does that look like?
Well, I've just started that where when I'm typing, I every so often will hear a word as a thought. I've never heard a voice. I just hear a word as a thought only once in a while. And when I am doing the voice channeling, I hear the words as thoughts, and then I can repeat them in my own voice. It's not a trance. A lot of channelers are what we call trance channelers, where they do go into a trance of light or deep, and an entity will take over their body. That's not me. It's just an ability to receive a message as a thought and be able to speak it. So
it's pretty powerful.
Well, it is. And it's also at this point kind of headache producing. It's the energy, but it's good energy.
Good energy. It's good stuff.
Oh, it's always good.
I absolutely love the channeling that you did for me. I 100% was excited like a little kid in the candy shop when I opened up that email and saw what Pax had channeled for me. So those who are wondering, I asked, what in this lifetime, what in my past lives, what would help me in this one. And he had mentioned a lifetime of I think it was a Greek soldier.
Yes.
Who was killed because he was not following orders to destroy other beings for whatever reason. And they found out and destroyed me. And it was powerful, right? Like it's just pretty cool to think about that, right? Like, it does relate to me in my life now, some of the struggles that I have. And, we went in further detail with that, but he even gave me a name, and it was like Orpheus. Like that was.
Oh, that's right. Orpheus. It is so powerful. I can't say strongly enough for your audience. It is so powerful to be able to understand, if you're going to believe in reincarnation and past lifetimes, that what happened to you then can most certainly challenge you now. Sure. It can stop you in your tracks from progressing in certain areas. It can bring you gifts as well, but it can sure block your process of moving ahead in your life. And how is a person to understand what's causing their blocks in life? What's causing their repeated bad behavior, their eating disorders, any number of, trends towards certain things that are destructive for them? To be able to do past life regression, which before I started channeling Pax, by the way, is what I was doing, because I had been a student of Edgar Cayce and everything he had written about.
You became a student of his? Like his, not of him.
Through his books.
Okay.
I believe he was deceased at that point. through his writings, I bought everything that he had written and took courses and became proficient in doing past life regressions with people one-on-one. That's very time consuming, and it's also very, very illuminating and helpful for the person. It's progressed now to when I'm working with Pax with a person, magically, Pax just zooms in to a pertinent past lifetime and a pertinent incident in that lifetime that has resulted in whatever their challenge is today. So through recognizing what happened to that person in that past lifetime, understanding why it happened, perhaps how it happened, and also potentially the people involved who did you the wrong, there can be great understanding that's accompanied by forgiveness and enabling that person then to take what they've learned, process it over time, and move on, move beyond. And I don't mean to make light of that, but to move beyond what that challenge was that was blocking them. It's magical. It really is. Over the years, the feedback I've had, I don't like to call them testimonials, but the feedback that I've had from the people who have been helped by this process assures me that this is such valuable work to do with people. I love it because it opens the book for people who never knew that they had that chapter in their life, that there wasn't even a book about their past lives. But firsthand, when you understand that you were taken out, that your life was ended because you were following your conscience. You were not cut out to be a soldier at that time when it was a very wicked time and brutality was part of life. And you had a conscience and you had sensitivity and you couldn't fulfill an order. So you're expendable, you're gone. And that, for your listeners, we have what we call cell memory. You can also call it soul memory because our souls progress with us through our lifetimes. And there's memory there of what transpired, what brutality perhaps entered our lives, what we had to deal with, or what we died as a result of in its unfairness, such as Trey, who was following his conscience. These things, they live within us, and they oftentimes prohibit us from moving forward as we should in our personal development, in our lives. We get stuck in certain areas, and it's just a wonderful process by which a person can recognize and perhaps offload that burden.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So, cell memory, soul memory. Like some people, when they do past life regressions, like some of the physical ailments clear up, right? Like, I mean,
yes.
What is that, right? So, like Carole Bowman, who had her son, was a Civil War. He was like I don't know, like 5 or 6, and he had this past life regression, and he had eczema on his wrist. And he come to find out he was like in a Civil War and he was shot there when he was giving that back this past life regression. So like he had eczema right here. So do we, and the lady who did my Akashic reading said that when we go from lifetime to lifetime, we carry those genetics with us. So is that like a form of like cellular memory coming back into this present life that was there from the previous life? I mean, is that?
I believe so. And, many people theorize that marks on our body, birthmarks, for example, or deformities, or his eczema on his wrist, are signs of what took us out. For example, in a past lifetime, he was shot in that area. It is fascinating to me how that works.
Sure.
But yeah, people say that's what that is. It is a leftover, a sign, a memory of that past lifetime. I think the study of that is quite fascinating.
Yeah, Carole Bowman has her book, and then Ian Stevenson from the University of Virginia. He has a lot of studies, a lot of books about child past lives, like reincarnation, which is
Oh, yeah.
involved.
It's the little ones that remember their past lives. And, I've read fascinating accounts, as you have, about, 3, 4, 5-year-olds that direct their parents and find actually where they used to live. The family is still there. They can recount all of the facts of that time and essentially prove, yes, they were that person in that lifetime.
Because the kids, their brains are operating at different vibes than ours. Like, so they're when you're 4, 5, 6, 7, they're still operating at a lower frequency of like alpha, probably like alpha or theta or something like that. And then that's why they have these visions. And then once they get, once their brain starts maturing more and more, they start having these.
They lose it.
Yeah,
but they have the memories too. They have the memory of what his name was and the street he lived on, and the town he lived in. Those memories diminished, and we're told they usually diminish when children start school because there's just so much external activity for them. But the past lives, as they affect us in our today, are powerful. And for your audience, I would like to say that if you've had thoughts about this, investigate it. Pick up a book or two, go online and do some research. And you'll find perhaps that it validates what you've been thinking. And then you could perhaps take it a step further and find a practitioner who can help you actually visit.
I've always wondered about that. Like, I want to do that. I want to get my certification and do that for myself, because I think it's amazing.
Well, it is, Trey, and it is so helpful for people to be able to release this, what has been holding them back, which they didn't even know about. It truly is life altering for people.
Yeah, my 2-year-old, I'm following her around. I'm listening to her. You know what I mean? What'd you say? What was your?
Yes.
What? How'd you drive?
And now's the time. Now's the time to do it.
So you said that you're practicing or working with Pax verbally or through that different modality. Can we try that here now or no?
Yes, of course.
So I like I said, I had talked to a friend of mine who gave me an Akashic reading, and she said that I had lived like a Nordic life previously, and I had this power inside of me. Could you ask him if or channel to him or channel through him or through you if that is accurate? Did I lead a Nordic life? What was that life and what the power she's referencing to?
All right. Pax says, indeed it is the case that you were a person of great authority at that time, also of great influence over the people, and that you used your wisdom and your influence wisely and for the betterment of those people around you, that you had depth of wisdom, as it was not your first lifetime. You had come from numerous lifetimes where you grew your wisdom each time, and you maintained the ability to take the high road with your people. It was not always easy for you to so do. Those were turbulent times, harsh lifetimes, and yet you insisted to yourself that you would be a leader of note who would always bring the best possible to your people. And that included some magic. Well, that's interesting. It included some magic, which you had within you to practice. And it consisted of the ability to help your people see and feel their own inner power. That was considered magic because it was transformative at the time for the people you touched. And this was your brilliance.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, wow. Thank you, Pax.
Yeah, thank you, Pax.
For your audience, this is new for me. This is only the second show I've done it on.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did well. Like I think you're getting the hang of it.
Thank you, Pax. Interestingly, this time I didn't hear the words. It just flowed. It just flowed.
Yeah, buddy. Have you ever seen Pax? Like, have you ever
No.
seen him? No.
No. Long ago, I asked Pax about having walked the earth. He said he had never incarnated. He is a part of and again, for your audience, you notice I always say he. Pax is not a person or one spiritual entity. Pax is representing the collective consciousness. And if you haven't picked up Due Unto Earth yet, I'll just share with you what Pax says. He says, we are one with the universe, not the universe alone. We are the divine universe, yes, and a God being, and the greater wisdom, that which knows and supports all, and is healing, non-judgmental, and tolerant, all-seeing, all-knowing, and peace. Matter of fact, the name Pax means peace, messenger of peace.
Wow. Yeah, I love that book. I love what you're doing. I think it's just so great. You know, like did you have to practice to do that? Like, did you have to practice even to like voice it out? Like,
no. At the beginning, because I was doing all these other metaphysical modalities that I was a student of, I wanted to do automatic writing, but I didn't know why. I really didn't get it. So therefore, I couldn't do it. I was never given the gift. It took me years.
Really?
And ultimately, I just put it away, and then I'd try it again. And when it did come, it was through the handwriting. So there was no practicing. I was sitting there one evening with paper and pen and open mind, and the pen started moving, and it was some spirit entity. I didn't know enough at the time to protect myself, to say a prayer of protection before I began, so that I would only attract to me what would bring the highest and best good of all through me. So it was much later when Pax arrived. So in that sense, there was no practicing.
What's your prayer so people can hear?
Oh, I simply ask for the presence of my spirit guides. I ask for the presence of Pax to be with me, bringing only the information that will serve the highest and best good for all through me. That's simple. And I have never channeled another entity from that day 25 years ago. I have no need to or interest in, and asking this prayer and blessing at the beginning of any session ensures that I only receive Pax. So I'm not open to all the entities that might want to come through. That is a scary prospect. I don't do that.
Yeah, so you're not seeing any other
No.
entities. Good.
Yes.
One entity woman.
I truly am monogamous here.
Oh, Carole, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. How can people what is your website? Where can people find you?
It's my name. It's Carole with an E, Carole Serene Borgens.com. And for the Do Unto Earth book, it's paxwisdom.com. Pax Wisdom, one word.com, which also links to my personal website and all of our other books, which are obtainable on Amazon or in bookstores.
I love it.
Thank you, Trey.
Thank you, Carole. I don't know if I asked you this last time. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, that I recognized that my greatest blessing in life was to be a channel, to be a medium, and to assist people wherever I could to finding their own higher selves and peace in their lives and sharing it.
Oh, this has been amazing. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Like, I love having you on. Definitely going to have you on again. You are a family member of your superior self. Like, open invitation whenever you want.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you, and would love to come back whenever you have an opening. And Pax will be ready and able as well. And thank you. And if we can shed any further light on your Nordic existence, just ask.